Happy Saturday, everybody, and welcome to the only Nexus gaming series going on right now, which should be a great one. Division A-West, Archetype versus Blasting Burros. Joining me twice in 1 week, and that's got to be a record. Dankstrom, how's it going, man?
Doing good. Thanks for inviting me on this weekend day to see these two great teams play.
Both these guys, I think, are going to be contenders in their division. Archetype and Blasting Burrows were both Div A-West last season with your squad, I believe, so you have some solid familiarity with these. Blasting Burrows actually was number 2 at the end of the season in Div A-West. Archetype was somewhere in the middle of the pack, finishing right around the 500 mark. That is not the case this season. They are actually 7-1 coming into today with a couple of roster swaps and a couple of role swaps, and really starting off the early season like gangbusters.
Yeah, the Archetype was a strong team last season. If anybody played them towards the end of the season, they actually almost took out the Division A West champions and eventual Division A champions Freelo in the playoffs in a really close series on Towers of Doom, actually. So, I mean, they're a really strong team. They have some really interesting niche picks and ways they like to play. That if they play to those strengths, they're very, very strong. So I actually am excited to see a, a strong showing so far early in the season.
So Archetype banning out the Maiev, Malthael by Blasting Burrows, Genji by Archetype. We are flying in this draft. So for Archetype, the two new team members to keep an eye out for is Virtuoso and Reynoris. And those guys being added actually allowed Team Captain Ragnarok to flex back to damage where he prefers to play from. So really adding those guys, playing a little more regularly, has kind of allowed everything to come together from them. First pick Johanna, followed immediately by Yrel Asmodan.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting Archetype to pick up Asmodan here. It's something they've run in the past, and I'd say they little more some more interesting niche ones. Even with the buff to Asmodan recently, making it much more playable. So I was curious to see the Johanna first pick instead of the Asmodan first pick. And I mean, Archetype's already run Asmodan at least 3 games so far so far this season, anyways.
Apologize to anybody who is here. This is a new set of overlays, and something was clearly wrong, but I have fixed it. You didn't miss much, and we should be ready to go now. I didn't have the actual HOTS game capture up, so we're seeing the draft for the first time, but it is there now.
They got it. So, but Leo as a initial pickup, I wonder if they just don't want kind of that soft counter in lane against the Yrel, or if they're just looking at maybe a Planet Cracker Entomb combination on this Asmodan. Leo is not a ban I was expecting here. Actually, I was looking at more. They might be planning out a Blaze instead.
Yeah, and what's doubly interesting about that is Blasting Burrows really likes playing, so that makes that ban even more interesting. As we have a Malfurion being picked up. One more. I imagine probably the main tank, allowing him to flex that 5th pick. No, it is going to be Hanzo, so Blasting Burrows will have a last pick main tank, unless they're going to have Yrel fake it, not something she normally does. Normally she's in the off lane, but I have seen teams kind of use her as a niche main tank here and there as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious if Archetype's going to kick up Cassie. It's something they've flexed to in the past. They have a few other options to go here as well. I mean, they have lots of good frontline control between Decker Roots and just Johanna being out there. It's not like Asmodan's going to be diving you. They actually go with Greymane Blaze here instead.
So very traditional, straightforward comp here. Archetype rounding out their team with a Greymane Blaze. Are we going to see a Diablo here? On a Diablo band, I'm sorry. So maybe a Muradin coming out would be the first one that comes to mind for me.
Muradin's the most likely, but there's an argument made for Garrosh here too, and just keeping people off your Asmodan at almost Arthas instead. Actually, that's something I was not expecting. It's not like he has some ranged roots to lead up to Asmodan dunks, maybe, but I don't know. Arthas is not one that spoke to me here as a tank.
I wonder if the Asmodan was something they were explicitly targeting, or if that was something they took as a response to the first pick Johanna, like as a denial.
Well, I've been played Asmodee quite a bit. I think he's a pretty good general hero now too. It's not like he has lots of merc pressure, but in a small map like this, quick rotations, he can stack fairly efficiently, skirmish quite a bit, and he pairs with Johanna very well. But they kind of snap picked that Asmodee Urel um, fairly quickly. So I got to imagine it was up. They wanted a strong pick, and they grabbed it that way, not as necessarily as a steal.
And I mean, all of those things could be true. It could have been they were targeting him, and they're like, well, now we're really going to take it because you don't want to have the JoJo Asmo together. It makes it really easy to stack the Asmodan.
Yeah, and interesting. Archetype usually plays a Malthael, and Malthael can do fairly well into Urel into lane as well. There's not like there's a ton of really quick burn on the side of blasting Burros that would have killed Malthael if he had to go in uh, fairly quickly. So it's interesting that they actually don't pick that up and they go for the Blaze instead.
So the blue team, currently the top team in Div A-West, Team Archetype, we have Ragnarok on Greymane, Ranaris, that's what I'm going to say, Ranaris on Deckard Cain, Virtuoso on Johanna, Odin on Blaze, and Solo on Phoenix.
We have Zoo over there on Malfurion, Pyromantic on Hanzo Michelin, on Urel, Tiddly on the Arthas, and Justice rounding it out on the Asmodan. And I'm really looking at Asmodan. If Blasting Bros is going to carry this, that Asmodan is going to be my opinion, is one of the main sources of damage here.
Yeah, Asmodan, the later the game goes and the faster he scales, really going to be a late game force. If they can keep it even and just that late game scaling, that Asmo can be so powerful.
Yeah, so right now we're looking at some of this Arthas build, and it's not looking to be, this root Arthas you often see. He actually picks up Rhyme level 1 just to help with this Greymane, and Phoenix just auto-attack poke damage on him.
Yeah, that makes sense. Rhyme is actually, I think, an underrated talent, one of the better block talents. As these heroes have gotten, hero-specific block talents, I think Arthas's and Johanna's are probably the two best ones.
Yeah, Arthas are definitely arguably the best one in the game. Just not something I expected to see. I look to see paired with this Asmodan, get a big 3-man root, and Asmodan drops the damage on him. But right now he's just looking to survive in that front line and have some more survivability, playing not necessarily as a setup, but just stay alive and protect the back line to do damage.
So far, I think looks like Archetype with that Johanna. Phoenix Greymane, I think they're just a little bit ahead in the 4-man rotation right now. So much so that I actually sent Deckard Cain and Greymane already on the bruiser camps, leaving Phoenix and Johanna to clear and rotate, and those two can do it plenty fast. They just insta-cleared that top lane, and they're already on their way one more time.
Yeah, Johanna, and that's just going to get even better once Johanna hits level 4 and gets the Sins talent on her shield glare, so... And yeah, Phoenix is having to teleport out, but he's playing relatively safe. He just waits for his shield to go down, then he'll back up, let it regen, and go back in there again. So I like this Phoenix play so far.
I wonder if Archetype is going to kind of mass into the center lane and try to use this spell armor and really pressure out the mid lane. You do see teams do that from time, or if they're just going to use this Merc camp to really lock in their advantage in the 4-man. But no, they're pushing in pretty good. Makes sense with a Greymane who can do pretty good siege damage.
Yeah, and Blasting Burros actually lost a whole wave of XP on top. The Phoenix cleared out, turned in what few gems Phoenix had, and is still coming down here to meet this push. They're going to get a tower. Probably not a whole lot more than that, but oftentimes that was 3 from Archetype against 4 Blasting Burros in that mid lane defending that camp, and Archetype was still able to push in and bully it around to get a tower.
The Rag did rotate down here on the Greymane to put some pressure on the Rel. She giant hammer slapped both of them away and walked to safety. Odin will drop off his 12 gems. It looks like uncontested. Early game, I think safe to say slight advantage as 2 get caught in the Scroll of Sealing. Slight advantage to Team Archetype here.
Yeah, you have Michelin. He's already scouted out this bottom siege camp that's trying to get snuck by Archetype and Ragnarok. But I don't think with both Blaze and Greymane down there that he's going to do much to be able to steal it. I think he may be able to fight it, but they can bully him off.
Yeah, and the thing with Archetype's comp here, with the Johanna in particular in that four-man, they don't really need much more than 2 heroes to hold down the top 2 lanes, and Blasting Burros doesn't have that same luxury, so they basically just don't have the spare heroes to either contest the bottom siege giants or really get any kind of murking done on their own. Already 2 camps picked up here by Archetype.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting on how Blasting Burros, in my opinion, looks like they pull this out as a win as later in the game is just their plain survivability. You're going to have Urel getting armor on level 4 to the whole team. You're going to see Malfurion come up, not with Twilight Dream, but also I'm blanking on his other ult. His healing and armor ult.
Tranquility.
Tranquility. And then Arthas just popping, he's going to have that rhyme, he's going to have some of that self-sustain, he's going to have that Army of the Dead, and just surviving through any sort of damage that Versio, Ragnarok, and Solo are going to bring, and then they're just going to slowly just turn it around and roll the fight back the other direction.
You know, and the thing with an Asmodan in one of these games, late game, one good Globe of Annihilation on the back line can basically turn a team fight around. As speaking of Asmodan, he's caught a little bit too far forward. Archetype made them pay the price. Asmodan goes down. However, the slows from Tiddly are really holding them down. The teleport away by Solo able to dodge a Howling Blast from Arthas.
So a Blasting Burrows goal here is to not lose more than 2 walls, basically, out of this. If they do that, 10's going to come way too early for Archetype, and Archetype might be able to start snowballing this away. They already have basically a full level lead, and if they lose more than 2 walls, that's going to put Archetype probably up within about half a level or so of getting to level 10, and then I think they look at another possible turn after that, and then it's just a snowball into 13. And after that, the Asmodan scaling is going to be really rough to come back from.
You know, and we're seeing it here, and we haven't talked about it too much. A Phoenix and a Greymane, if there's something to tank the straight up fortifications, they do a lot of siege damage. And you can see how quickly this top lane melted with the Web Weavers. A flanking Arthas comes in, does get the Howling Blast onto the Greymane. Ragnarok falls in the first blood of the game for Blasting Burrows, and they are still in pursuit. Tiddly is just holding down everybody from Archetype. Justice is very low, escapes with less than 40 hit points, while Phoenix falls, and it looks like Blaze will as well. 3 unanswered kills in a really nice flanking maneuver by the side of Blasting Burrows, with Tiddly in the lead that will catch them up in experience and certainly land themselves their first turn-in of this game.
Yeah, and that's some of that, just that slow rolling of that fight. Blaze actually beat the Urel up there and missed his charge. Didn't get a single AoE stun off. It miraculously went through everybody, didn't hit them. They still get some of the damage down. Justice and Asmodan gets down to 78 life, but that 35 armor once the Urel showed up actually keeps Asmodan alive, and I think keeps that fight rolling in the favor of Blasting Burrows. So, you know, they lose 10, but because they're able to take that fight, get those pickoffs, they're able to counter this now. They're still going to be able to look at trying to turn in after they get 10. They really want to try to get these off Tiddly.
So, heroic abilities are on the board for Archetype. We have Go for the Throat for Greymane, Tornado coming out right now for Deckard King, Purification Salvo for Phoenix, Bunker Drop for Blaze, and Blessed Shield for Johanna. Blasting Burrows also picked up their level 10s. It's Ardent Defender for Urel. I believe that is Tranquility, so not Twilight Dream. You were right with the Tranquility from Malfurion. I don't know his Tide of Sin for Asmodan, Army of the Dead for Arthas, and Dragon Arrow for Hanzo. Tiddly may be in trouble. Blessed Shield went out, as did Purification Salvo. Counter with the Dragon Arrow into the Howling Blast. Phoenix unable to teleport to safety. Blasting Burrows have really flipped this game on its head the last few minutes.
Yeah, it's just those counter engages. They're coming up and just slowly taking that damage. You know, they get the Tranquility out. It keeps Tiddly alive. He doesn't even have to. I don't think he. No, he did actually pop Army of the Dead during that. But then they get a very nice Dragon's Arrow and just follow up CC onto the Phoenix to keep them down. So I mean, they're just surviving the initial engage by Archetype and working on that that turnaround.
Yeah, the stacking the crowd control was done really well. The Dragon Arrow into the Howling Blast just locked Phoenix down. He could not get away. There he is hit by another one, and those shields aren't lasting nearly long enough for a solo on the Phoenix there.
No, I mean, you get a lot of scatter arrows and poke just from Azmodan. They're really annoying if you're on Phoenix or anything that wants to not take damage like Muradin to try to start regenerating health or anything else. The new Azmodan minions, they have a burning aura around them, and it triggers that little bit of damage that resets so many abilities. It's really annoying oftentimes as a tank player.
So early game was pretty solidly in Archetype's favor. Mid game has really been all Blasting Burros, and speaking of Blasting Burros, they managed to ninja in their second turn-in of the game under the noses of Archetype skirmishing the mid.
Yeah, their poke is maybe a little bit not as present on the side of Archetype. They get zoned out a little bit. I think they're a little bit gun shy at the moment of this other composition. It's really hard because if they don't get that initial engage, I think that fight does turn around against them. And there's another nice arrow right under Ragnarok, and while the Bless Shield misses, the Lornado gets the disengage to save him. So that's 2 big ultimates down now.
Tiddly He in particular is doing a really nice job with that aura slow. Anytime he gets on somebody with that, they are not getting away, just kind of hugging them, holding them down, holding them there while his teammates get the damage, and another Howling Blast onto Greyman, and there's the aura we were talking about. He turns around, decides he's done for, and just puts what damage he can into Tiddly He. Tranquility is popped though. Blasting Burros really taking command of this game, actually fighting past that fort while the Web Weaver finishes off.
Yeah, if I'm on the side of Archetype now, I think we just need to start focusing on the tank, on that Tiddly He. Work on actually just killing him, separate him out with a Lornado, anything you need to do, but that's the whole thing they're turning around. If you can't kill him on a regular engage, I don't think they're going to get a chance to now. You have to separate them with a Lornado or something else and turn on their team that way.
Yeah, it kind of looks like every time Arthas hits the root on someone, that someone is dead. There's just such great focus, timeliness of when he hits the CC. Blasting Burrows getting a little aggressive on the boss here. Archetype is posturing up, however, Phoenix is not here yet, so patience being showed by Archetype while Blasting Burrows tanks the boss. Odin does hit a jet propulsion, and it leads to Arthas going down. Justice and Pyromantic both in big trouble. Pyromantic does get away to safety, however, none of his teammates will. I lied. Yrel does not die ever, so actually Yrel and Hanzo get away to safety. But Archetype does steal the boss.
Yeah, I was actually really scared for Archetype. They burned Lornado way too early to try to control the point. I thought they were going to try to keep the Lornado to try to steal that point over there. But Arthas didn't have Army of the Dead up. There's a lot of big cooldowns. Tranquility wasn't up on the side of Blasting Burrows. And so they actually, can't sustain through that initial engage. I think that was kind of greedy, thinking they had a Talontier advantage. That was it, but they had all of their ultimates down and not as many ultimates down on the side of Archetype. And so Archetype was able to fight under the boss and just take it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Blasting Burrows tried to get the boss. I am surprised they stayed in once it was clear that Archetype was on the way. I figured at that point they would back up and allow it to leash, because fighting under the boss like that, especially with the positioning of Archetype, kind of pinning them in there under the boss is really dicey. Michaelin comes in on the flank in the middle of all of the members of Archetype. Tiddly He is as well. The Purification Salvo is interrupted, but this time Yrel does not get out alive. Virtuoso doing everything he can to keep his low health teammates up. Not able to get out himself. Now the Purification Salvo goes out. Really doesn't accomplish much. A 1-for-1 while the blue Web Weavers are pushing in the other 2 lanes.
Yeah, I like this. Archetype is still going to be able to get this value in mid, then they could rotate the bot and start putting some pressure on the bot wall as well. I mean, I guess Blaze back, so they're not going to rotate down. They're not going to play anything too aggressive, but they get two forts and half of a keep out of this, you know, that's a solid full level lead probably by the time this ends.
Yeah,
Looks like more like an half level lead, but.
And that top keep is kind of low enough to where if they wipe, they might be able to do something more than the keep. You know, that win condition in the top lane is mostly opened up there.
Yeah, and it's not like Blasting Burros is out of the game. They still have a number of ults up very soon that they're going to be able to take another fight. And, you know, being on even talent tiers, it's a little bit more even than I thought, actually. I'm about a third of a level lead now at this point on the side of Archetype. They're looking to pick off Tiddly here in the bottom, though. He gets a nice root, and he's going to try to get out through this bottom gap.
What's Tiddly getting caught out there? His teammates actually left the Bruiser camp leash to make sure he wasn't in trouble. We're going to have another brawl. Dragon Arrow hits 2, followed by the Michael and dive on the rail. Tornado coming out as well. Bunker drop. Everybody pressing their R buttons. Nobody dead quite yet. Virtuoso is in trouble, though. Tranquility, Purification Salvo, still nobody dying. Finally, Virtuoso goes down, and Solo as well. Counter engage gets the Hanzo. Greymane falls for his troubles. A 3-for-1 favoring Blasting Burros.
And the Blasting Burros doesn't have most of a turn in once Tiddly gets over there. But that's a great trade. I'll trade 1 for 3 every day. They're going to be able to start working on pushing their lanes out, turn in their 51 right now. Once they get 9 gems, they can turn in at their leisure, and their lanes are in a much better position. Get that hard camp, the night camp. Start pushing with that, get a turn in. They, you know, at this point, they have some banked XP in these 2 forts that are still standing on the side of Archetype. You know, that gets them, you know, half a level. That gets them that much closer to 20. That's their last big power spike they're looking to try to hit here.
Yeah, and the turn-in forthcoming for the side of Blasting Burros will almost certainly net them both of those forts.
Yeah, and that top lane, look how far that's pushed up. I mean, if you're Blasting Burros, you think you get a turn in, and then there's a spider up in top lane. The other 2 lanes are free at that point.
So a kind of a balancing act here for Archetype. They're trying to clear out the mid-mercs and delay the turn-in on the backside. Look at how much damage the Globe does to Deckard Cain. It is followed up by the Dragon Arrow, and then Declan actually dives onto the backline. But with Michaelin in the flanking position, Malfurion and Arthas go down, and now Yrel may be in trouble. Hanzo is caught by Blaze, and this was a huge moment for the side of Archetype. Roderick Cube does catch the Yrel, dives over the wall, insta-mounts, and runs for her life, barely getting away. Oh. No, not this time.
Oh my gosh. So, you're Blasting Burros, right? And your idea is just to sustain. Tiddly, he plays fairly aggressive over here. The Tranquility and the Armadillo get popped early, and Michelin's looking for the back wall. They're looking to pick off Deckard, actually, after that big globe from Asmodan, and they don't get it. They burn the Yrel to position in a completely different area where nobody else gets any advantage from her 35 armor. They burn the Tide of Sin from Asmodan and the Dragon's Arrow from the Hanzo as well. Now, real question, is this going to be the throw pit for boss, as Archetype tries to go for it before they hit level 20, and Blasting Burros is heading immediately there?
I mean, 10 seconds to Yrel is up, so this is a 5-on-4. I like the call here from Archetype, but all members of Blasting Burros are here. Tornado does come out. That will zone away pretty much everybody. Arthas not able to get there in time, and now Arthas is done. If you are Archetype, you probably can turn game or maybe just march straight to core with this boss, and that looks like what they're doing. They have their eyes on taking this game 1.
I think if you're Yrel, you want to make sure your Malfurion stays alive here, but they're letting him go down. So yeah, this should be game right here for Archetype. You know, very nice sniff out of that boss pit earlier, and that changed the game for them, it felt like.
Although a big dive onto all those blue health bars are very low. Blasting Burros saying, not today. Phoenix had to teleport way far out. The bunker is there to help with all the armor. 4 at 40%, 30%, 20, 10, game. A pretty valiant defense there at the end, but just too much to overcome for Blasting Burros.
I think Blasting Burros' team comp was a little bit more one-dimensional, and relied more on a counter-engage style. So, like you're at the top there, you don't have Urel there. Arthas doesn't have his Army of the Dead up yet, and they still try to engage, and those sort of things fail. They try to engage in the middle, and that's not necessarily what their team comp was built to do, was to play aggressively and split up like that. They wanted to kind of death ball, and a few little mistakes like that archetype definitely punished them hard for.
Yeah, the globe dragon arrow onto the Deckard Cain, if Urel could have actually reached, would have been a really kind of slick, cute play to assassinate a backline. But once Ranaris on Deckard Cain was hit with the globe and with the dragon arrow, he backed up into a much safer position. So when Urel dived over the wall to try to get him, she couldn't reach him. And without Urel's presence in the front line, Blasting Burros ended up losing, I think, what probably turned out to be the critical fight of that game, because after that moment, it slid a little too far in favor of Archetype.
Yeah, they lost, I want to say something like 45 gems just in that one fight because they didn't take any advantage to try to turn it in earlier. They actually had 60 right before that fight started. It felt like Arthas was trying to zone, and they ended up turning it into, like you said, that cheeky engage, try to delete this backliner play, and just neglected some of the objectives of the map in this case. And this is going to be kind of scary for Blasting Burros because we're going to go to Towers of Doom next, a traditional archetype map, one that they've always been really strong in. And they're going to be blasting Burros there. And, I think I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Archetype has like a 4 or 5-0 record here on this map.
Yeah, this will be Archetype's map pick. So that will mean Blasting Burros does get first pick. Towers of Doom, a little different than some of the Spider Queen.
Oh, sure, yeah, a lot more macro play. There's still some rotations, a little bit different, a little more prioritization on the mercs and controlling specific portions of the map too, trying to control that bot lane where you get two shrines that show up in a vertical orientation over there, just controlling that bot in general. It was really interesting. I saw some other teams. I think it was at Western Clash do a completely different strategy of actually trying to control the top lane. It was a late game strategy, and it was really interesting. It didn't quite pay off for them, but I expect both these teams to play more standard, just try to get the mercs, control the bot lane, and strangle the other team out through that. With that, I'm actually trying to go back and look through the stats of the Storm. Um, Malthael wasn't picked up last map, but he's actually 5-0 for Archetype here. I'm really curious why they didn't run him into URL this next time, or if we might see them here on this map, which is more of a favor to theirs.
Yeah. I think. Sorry, I was distracted by something off to the side here, but
Oh, no worries.
I think Towers of Doom when it first came out, I kind of didn't really rank, but I think rapidly morphed into one of my favorite maps. It seems like every time you have one of those games that just makes your heart beat out of your chest, and you're like, oh my god, that was so crazy. It seems like it's always on Towers of Doom.
It's so much comeback potential on that map. It's great. You're never out of it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. That's of course the byproduct of the dynamic in the map where you can't just go to the core in the game. You have to pop. But I think they struck a great job between balancing that without making it feel like when you're ahead, the advantages that you can leverage on the map when you're ahead, there's still ways to do it. So I think it strikes a great balance between comeback potential and being able to take a lead and holding on. Well, but game number 2, Blasting Burros. Archetype, Blasting Burros striving to get the split here. Archetype hoping to keep stranglehold on first place in Div A-West.
Blasting Burrows. What do you think some adjustments Blasting Burrows could make in the next series, whether it's drafting or play style? Just, I mean, Archetype's looking strong. They weren't really rattled this last game, even after that mid game turnaround that Burrows had.
I don't think it was a play style or a comp thing necessarily. I think it was a couple of questionable decisions. The boss decision, um, I think starting it wasn't necessarily a bad decision. It was once Archetype showed up for me, that's your cue to get out of there. You really don't want to fight under the boss, all things being even. So that I think was a questionable decision coming out for Blasting Burrows. It ended up backfiring on them in a pretty big way. And then in that middle fight that we keep going back to, they didn't quite seem to know how they wanted to take that engagement. We're going to commit to sniping the Deckard on the backside. And if that was the case, then maybe the rest of the members needed to kite backwards a little bit more. There seemed to be a little bit of a lack of cohesion in how the team wanted to take that fight. So they ended up not getting the Deckard Kane assassination backside, and they also lost Arthas and Malfurion to start that fight off. So I think maybe just a little, some corrections in those calls would make that game much closer.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think that Burrows had excellent team fighting capabilities throughout that game, and a little bit different macro or shot calling options that they take. A little bit better communications and playing towards their game plan. Don't try to be too cheeky, but playing towards their game plan and just play it solid. I think that they can still take a game off Archetype here, making it into a draw.
Yep.
So we have Diablo and let's see, Maiev banned immediately out on these two sides. I
Just
think
like game one.
Whitemane, yeah, I think Whitemane got through to actually the second ban.
Second ban
I
phase,
kind of
she
hope
did.
I kind of hope to see her in this game actually.
You know, going back to that last game, it seemed like when things went really well for Blasting Burrows, all of the team fights that went their way, they kind of would, both teams were posturing, and Blasting Burrows would kind of slowly kite backwards and kind of maneuver backwards. And then you would have a big howling blast into a dragon arrow that would isolate out a target and kill him very quickly. I wish they would have stuck to that more, because it seemed like that every time they had the patience to let the fight develop, they were able to catch somebody in a big CC chain and take them out and win.
Speaking
Jarell,
of
Johanna Asmodan.
yeah, speaking of big CC chains, they're just gonna play Johanna Asmodan again.
Oh,
Uh,
Asmodan? Does that
Johasmodan?
Asmodan?
Yeah, I don't want to see them as a couple. So, but this Asmodan, Johanna's so good at helping them stack as a CC when they want to drop the big side of 10 Tide of Sin's damage on them. I don't know. That's really interesting. And we have Abathur Phoenix picked up the other side. I've actually seen Phoenix Abathur hat work in the solo lane and just destroy some other solo laners they're matched up again. But I expect to see Yrel instead. I don't think Yrel's going to be the main tank for Burros.
No, I don't think so either. Abathur, very popular on towers. You can capture one of the opposition's forts, and you can kind of just bunker down in front of him and really hold it out. The Archetype takes away Muradin. Muradin is also an excellent Abahat target, so I really like that. If you have Abahatted Muradin, he can just kind of go to town on everyone.
It's really interesting. There's another good hat target here that they just faced against, which is Arthas. Arthas, specifically in more of a bruisery type build, is an amazing Abathur hat target, actually. He self-sustains, the Abathur hat helps keep him alive, and he just is out there putting slows. And we saw Tiddly be really good with that, getting those slows out on the other side. I wouldn't be surprised to see another Arthas come back here.
So Deckard Kane and the Cassia you suggested game. I really like what Archetype here is cooking. And normally when you see an Abathur on towers, the kind of running dialogue is longer this game goes on, the more value you're going to get out of that Abba with the Mule. But the flip side of that is the longer this game goes on, the fatter Asmodan is going to get. Karash Karazine.
So they're looking maybe into just trying to delete a target off of this. Get Abathur clones onto a Phoenix They're gonna just try to kill somebody. That's gonna be really hard. We got Johanna blinds, Decker's gonna be throwing out pots and potions. You're gonna have basically Agent's Blessing at 13 to turn around Cassia blinds, Asmodee just with his health pool. And I think Burros might have made a mistake here because these 4 characters so far on the side archetype are comfort picks for them. These are 4 of some of their most often picked characters that they've played so far this season.
Are you like me in thinking that this is going to be a flip seven-sided game out of Kharazim? You're going to get Garrosh to try to toss away and isolate somebody, and then use seven-sided strike and explode them?
Yeah, I think so, but your 7-sided strike's just going to do about 40% of their damage. Phoenix is going to have some follow-up. I'm not sure they get the complete deletion off of them immediately. I think that's really kind of hard with that Abathur hat on there too. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, Cassie is going to have that AA armor, so as soon as she starts moving, it's going to be reducing all the damage from the Phoenix and the Kharazim. So do you have enough CC time? I think it's what, a half-second stun from the Garrosh Q to delete him in that period of time. I'm not sure the answer is yes.
That's a pretty tall order, and this is the second game in a row we've had kind of Archetype staying with this much more straightforward, much more traditional standard type draft, and Blasting Burrows kind of coming out with something with a wrinkle, something not quite standard. But let's see how this game goes too. Archetype, the blue team, Virtuoso playing Johanna, Odin playing Blaze, Solo playing Cassia, Ragnarok playing Asmodee, and Reynoris playing Deckard King.
The battle begins.
We got a Pyromantic over on Phoenix Zoo on the Kharazim, Tiddly on Garrosh, Justice this time over on the Abathur, and Michelin on Ureligan.
Well, what are you waiting
And we do have Abathur just going his shield build, so regenerative microbes at level 1, which does at least help kind of cover some of Kharazim's weaknesses, which can be healing at times. You pick Kharazim to be that aggressive, try to do damage to people.
A little flip onto Johanna. She doesn't really mind that so much. In fact, if you're the side of Archetype, that's kind of who you want them to flip, basically.
And you see Archetype actually not going Wrath this game. So last time you had Blasting Burrows going Wrath, Asmodee's going to go Gluttony, which is basically reducing the cooldown of his Globe of Destruction by a quarter second. I'm sorry, quarter second for every minion it hits, and half a second for every hero it hits. So they're just trying to put out more consistent damage. It feels like.
Italy, he is positioning so aggressively on these rotations. Try to catch them out so aggressively, so much that he's actually chasing Solo onto his side of the map, and with Phoenix there to follow up on the toss, they actually are able to secure the kill onto Cassia.
Yeah, it always just feels bad when Garrosh can outrun somebody just to catch up to them and throw them. It's really unfortunate getting the pick off like that, and they're just letting Tiddly kind of do whatever he cares to. I mean, he's walking around next to Asmodee, and Virtuoso's letting him do it.
I don't think I've ever seen a Garrosh position and play quite so aggressively. He's just really up in there.
Yeah, he's able to do that a little bit to some extent because Solo and that Cassia got zoned off and then picked off as well. She's back with him now. If they can get this rotations put together on this Asmodee, they're going to do just fine. But they gotta keep that together.
A little bush party here coming out from Blasting Burrows. With the Garrosh and an Abba, I think Blasting Burrows realizes they just don't have the same kind of lane presence and even wave clear that Archetype does, so they're kind of saying that we understand and recognize we need to get picks, we need to get early kills with the Garrosh, trying to position themselves as such.
And you see the Blaze already rotating out, trying to help with that double soak position. You don't have another body on the field with this Abathur on their side. Try to get more soak and be more places the other team can't be.
But other than the Solo kind of, I think the reason Cassia Solo got caught out there is I don't think he thought Tiddly he would basically chase him under his own fort. So
probably a little bit true to that.
Other than that, they've been doing a pretty nice job of not letting Tiddly he get to the vulnerable heroes.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because Garrosh with that armor and that health pool, especially with an Abathur hat that's just going to put a healing shield on you, he can kind of just walk around wherever he cares to as long as Cassia's not there.
So actually, 2 members from Blasting Burros on Archetype side of the map, this upper left turn-in. In the meantime, so Blasting Burros is actually trying to posture for 2 of these despite not having the same number of bodies. Tiddly he taking a lot of damage from that Fen. Checking back in on this top right, Odin dueling 2-on-1 with Michaelin and Zhao. Archetype does manage to secure the bottom shrine, while Odin on Blaze stalls out. So not surprisingly, this likely going to be a 2-for-1 in favor of Archetype, as you would expect with an Abathur in the game.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting actually. Blasting Burrow is having just a very slight XP lead at the moment, even with one less body to really do things. They're playing the macro game very well.
Once again, where is Garrosh? He wants to find someone. Archetype seems to have really recognized that and positioning in such a way to not allow Tiddly to get anything with that. A nice zoning scroll of sealing, forcing back Zhao and Pyromantic there.
Yeah, and Michelin's starting to get a little bit better of his rotations on Blaze up on top, beating him down to the middle rotation here. And Tiddly, he's still, he's zoned out Solo again. Solo's in an awkward spot and needs to watch out.
Even with not really a whole lot of follow-up in the neighborhood, Tiddly, he is just acting like he's got his whole team with him all the time, whether they're there or not. There's the Solo, flip, stun. Tiddly, he tanking the towers, but does not care. However, reinforcements from Archetype arrive to get Solo out of trouble.
Yeah, so this Blasting Burrows, we talked about not being quite a general, kind of an off pick, but they're leading in this early game, which is where they need to. They're just going to get more powerful the later this game goes on. I mean, the other team has some other power spikes, but you have a Yrel Abathur, hitting the level 10 is really strong for you.
I will say, other than in the early part, when I think they hadn't quite recognized how aggressive Tiddly he was playing, other than that, Virtuoso has been doing a really nice job of just kind of hanging on the hip of Tiddly he. That's one of the things you can do when you're playing against a Garrosh, as a Johanna in particular. You make sure when he steps up, you are the closest person to Garrosh, so he has no choice but to throw you or nobody. Speaking of throwing, Deckard Cain gets tossed into a world of trouble. Virtuoso is there for a big-time condemn, and the old man surprisingly durable.
Yeah, one of the most durable supports we have, if everyone's ever tried to even chase the Deckard Cain before. Tiddly's getting some really nice throws, getting double Qs off of this, and it's saving Zoo off here as well. Phoenix goes down, unfortunately. I think that's going to be the end of Blasting Burrow's contestation of this bottom shrine now. But, that's really all right for them, I think. They play more for the late game. They want to make sure they hit 10 at the same time and start rolling their team comp from there.
Yeah, anytime you've got an ABBA, the whole dynamic of the game changes once evolution comes on.
I'm looking at if there's any sort of extra variations in their team comps here, and Cube Mastery for Decker level 7. So rather than going for any sort of damage reduction, they're just going to try to get more Scroll of Ceilings out. Though he didn't go for the armor reduction talent on Scroll of Ceiling level 1. We also see Crossfire getting some extra damage from the Blaze when they get hit by 2 blasts of his Flame Stream, anyways. So a little bit different items. I really like the Surge of Light option from Cassia, though. She's going to be aggressively thrown in. Let her do some more damage where she's at.
All right, heroics are online for Archetype. We have Tide of Saint, Cosmodan, All Lightning for Cassia, Lornado, as you see now, for Deckard Cain, Blessed Shield for Johanna. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Bunker for Blaze, and there it is.
Yep, there's a very good option. The beautiful Scroll of Ceiling here. That bouncing ball is going to go back and forth. I don't think it's going to kill out Tiddly, and he does not. He escapes out with about 100 lives.
The Phoenix evolution being very aggro there, but Tiddly, he took a lot of damage. He's adjusted his aggression accordingly, not diving in there quite as heavily as he was before. Only a single altar spawn here in the bottom lane. Unfortunately for Blasting Burrows, evolution will not be up for this. I wonder how hard they're going to contest that, keeping that in mind.
Yeah, I think they have to give it completely. I was going to mention, I think they should do this Merc camp, just let Yrel soak somewhere else, because they shouldn't be able to contest. I mean, Tiddly, this should be a death sentence for him, frankly. I don't know how you let him get away.
Well, he popped the self-cleanse and walked the other direction. I think he was just trying to buy one interrupt. Odin forced to throw down the bunker drop as Yrel was actually waiting for that rotation. Michaelin does get caught out with the Blessed Shield, forced to pop the Ardent Defender, a huge 4-man condemn and punish by Virtuoso, and they are finally able to bring down Yrel. Tiddly, he does get away to safely, and an excellent counter kill by Cassia on the back of the 7-sided strike.
Yeah, unfortunately, Cassia goes down as well, and now you're just going to let Abathur just get some split soak out on top, since you go for one in that bottom lane. But that Ardent Defender being a 2-minute cooldown is going to be a large tool, and Blasting Burros, you know, if there's anything to take away from this, at least you were able to get that Cassia counter kill and punish Archetypes being a little bit overly aggressive here to keep you in the game and start contesting these, because being 20 shots in your core down to 36 is not the most comfortable at the moment.
I will say, though, ABBA, look at the pressure ABBA putting in these other lanes. There was another wave just as big as this top one here a second ago that Blaze had already picked up on the way down. So the ABBA pressure around the other parts is starting to be felt. I thought well, it looks like Deckard might be in trouble. He's actually running in the Lornado to try to stay alive. I think the Purification Salvo will finish him, and it does. Cassia and Johanna are here, but they are not going to be doing much else. Archetype is split in two on a very aggressive rotation invasion here from Blasting Burros. However, Odin lands a triple jet propulsion, and it does secure the kill on the Garrosh. Blasting Burros' health is very low. Phoenix goes down. Cassia goes down. Zhao is in trouble, running from Blaze. Asmodan did go down on the backside as Yrel with an ABBA hat is just dueling with Johanna. Now with Blaze arriving, I think they will have to concede that, or will they?
Deckard's here, though. He's throwing the pots down, and Michelin at that point, I think, has to give it up finally. But you would have thought he would have done that a little while ago, but that was just, we had tanks on other tanks' bottom lines. You have a Blaze just assassinating a Garrosh. It was a really interesting fight occurring at so many different locations.
If you want to know why Yrel is permabanned, watch the last 30 seconds of this game. She is still alive, and she actually killed Asmodan long enough ago that he's back. That's how long he held in there, like 1v2 to 3.
Yrel, too much self-sustained. Blizzard, please nerf. So, and that whole time, Abathur just slowly kind of pushing out top. We got another big wave. It's not going to take that fort up there, but, you know, that's the game plan for Burros, is start slowly delaying this out and getting that value. So once you win a team fight off one of these clones where they just pop right now, they start getting some more value out and get back into the game.
So this clone not going to be around too much longer, and I think that will spell the end of the engagement for Blasting Burros once that clone goes away. It does.
I remember saying that like 2 minutes ago, though. So over here, next to the left camp.
Look at the top lane, Dankstrom. That ABBA getting a ton of value. To be honest, I kind of thought the Asmodan General of Hells would kind of keep this at bay a little bit, but it's really not.
No, it's not. And one unique thing I'm liking here as well, you know, on the side of Blasting Burros, is Zoo's Karizim. What it's doing is just giving Garrosh a little bit of extra movement speed to not only escape, but also to help close some of those gaps, even to try to get the throws in. So it's really kind of a... oh my god, the Asmodan dunks. 127 life. I think he had something like 40 armor, and it still kills him.
Yeah, I like the call by Archetype to kind of forget about that top lane. I mean, Blaze is up there. They're not forgetting about it, but they're not really prioritizing it. Instead, they trade top lane for bottom. And Virtuoso, what started that is Virtuoso actually Blessed Shield onto the Garrosh, and it locked him down for a globe from Asmodan the last time it was off cooldown. So Garrosh was actually hit by back-to-back globes, locked into place by Johanna's Blessed Shield.
It's kind of interesting because you usually get in a cadence. Every replacer is a storm. Gets that feeling of, okay, the ability was used at this point. The next cooldown's about here. This Gluttony talent by Asmodan level 1, it's reducing the cooldown for every hero it hits, and it's throwing off their their things are calculations. And Blaze is killed up in the top lane as Yrel dives
Look
underneath
at
the fort to
where.
kill him.
I assume with
Yeah.
an Abahat. That had to be an Abahat.
Hero slain.
Oh my god, I missed two. Garrosh goes down in the bottom. But Michaelin on the Yrel went so deep to secure that kill. Up 36-16. I wonder if Archetype is just going to be content to split. Oh no, there's 3 on the board. So Deckard Cain has already secured bottom. That one is done. The top right is secured by Yrel. So the top left will be the point of contention. And down so far on even tiers, I think Blasting Burros may try to kind of draw a line in the sand here and secure this top left, but Archetype having none of it. All 5 members on their way. Garrosh not here yet. He is getting here, but I don't think it will be in time to have anything to say about it. It's Shrine, and it isn't.
Nope, and Phoenix and the Guardians team are immediately going bot just to make sure to try to secure this, get some damage on before Archetype can rotate back down there. It'll be interesting to see if they get dunked on over here, though.
Well, in the minimap, you can see Archetype is on the way. No, but they are waiting for Yrel. She dives over the wall, insta-mounts, and joins her team in the bottom right. Globe goes out. Now, Blasting Burros is tanking the fort. Cassia tossed, taunted, 7-sided, dead.
There you go. I mean, that's the sort of kill they were able to do in that in the time period between getting a Q stun and then a taunt from Garrosh again. They're finally able to get that kill. I think they actually had 2 Phoenixes there too, just to get the damage in.
Yeah, that's the first time I think this game we've seen one of the backliners from Archetype position in such a way to allow that to happen, because Cassia was definitely in front of the Johanna, and I bet you Tiddly He's eyes got real big when he saw her leading that charge.
The damage from Asmodan here is just really fun how frequent it's coming out. It's tanking pretty well, but Cassia is kind of the hidden gem. She has 57,000, the Asmodan 37,000 right now.
So aggressive invasion once again from Blasting Burros. Pyromantic does get the Purification Salvo out, but forced to teleport to safety as he took a lot of damage. Garrosh in trouble. Yrel does have Ardent Defender and is trying to run away. Deckard Cain double killing Garrosh and Yrel, securing the kills with his walking stick, I am sure. This could be game, Denkstrom. 2 members down for Blasting Burros. 2 shrines up for Archetype. Johanna is going to come over here and stall or channel, barring something miraculous coming out from Blasting Burros. This should secure their domination win here.
Yeah, with both their frontliners down for 30 seconds of the time that both came up, there should be no way Blasting Burros contest that. And Archetype takes a fairly clean game, 33-0. You know, a lot of it was not really dying too often when Abathur clones were up and just controlling that match so well.
When Garrosh first joined the game, a lot of teams really struggled to adjust their position. Not teams, players, I should say, adjust their positioning. You know, basically when he was in the game, he changed how it would play. Your mentality had to be do not get thrown, like more than anything else. And other than that one toss on the Cassia late in the game, Archetype did a really fantastic job making Tiddly He work really hard.
And he worked hard, let me tell you. He was running around all over the place trying to get those throws.
So talents there for anybody who cares to take a look at those. Archetype increasing their record to 9-1, squarely in first place in Div A-West. Blasting Burros now falling to 5-5. Given the season they had last season, maybe not quite where we would expect to see them. They have played some really solid teams, so I think their schedule is going to soften up a little bit. It would not surprise me at all to see them go on a little run and get back on the top end of these standings here.
Yeah, there's no doubt Blasting Burros is going to be one of the top Division A West teams in NGS. It's just how I think more of the story is how dominating Archetype is showing against teams like Blasting Burros. I mean, they're 7-1. I didn't see what team they took a map off Archetype, but their play here was really solid. They played to their their play style. They control the map. I mean, when you win a Towers of Doom game 33-0, that's pretty convincing matchup.
Yeah, definitely. And Archetype kind of standard, straightforward, sticking to what's working for them. They're not trying anything cute. They're just kind of going with the meat and potatoes of Heroes of the Storm, the tried and true, 2 frontliners, 2 backliners, and a support, and let's win the game.
So how do you think the Asmodan play? We had a Asmodan on Blasting Burros lose their match, and Asmodan on the side of Archetype win their match. A little bit different variations in these talent pickups, going with the Gluttony over the Wrath. How do you feel that played out, and was there much of a difference between the 2 games because of those talent picks?
I don't think there was a huge difference in the play talent picks specifically. I just, we're not going to rehash some of the decision making, but I think that game 1, it was really just those 2 decisions that Blasting Burros in. But both games, you see the chunk damage late game that the globes from Asmodan does.
Yeah, but he had the 4% damage talent in game 2 at level 16, and that just helped finish off that Garrosh. I don't recall if he's quite level 16 yet, but then they finished Garrosh over in the kill zone on Burrows' side with that long range dunk. He has, I think at that point he had 40 plus armor, almost 200 life on Garrosh. You got to imagine that any sort of armor piercing, such as Asmodan gets at level 16, secures those kills like that, and is super valuable. So
that's true. But I think you can look at both of those games and you can see why Asmodan is being prioritized in these games. If I were to guess an NGS, I would say he probably has 90+% participation rate between picks and bans. He's all over the place, and for good reason. What also wouldn't surprise me, within the next balance patch or 2, if Blizz kind of took some of those knobs and turned some of those numbers down just a
bit. They already hit him with a nerf bat once in this last patch recently. We'll see if that was enough. He just still feels really impactful, especially in that mid to late game time frame. I'm sure he can have a little bit of a weaker early game, but it's hard not to to prevent any sort of stacking advantages he can get.
Yeah, I actually casted a game last week. It was about minute 20, level 20, somewhere in that neighborhood. And every time a globe landed on the back line, the fight was over. They just wouldn't take the fight anymore because their backliners weren't healthy enough to feel comfortable stepping forward and fighting into those engagements. It was so impactful. Ragnarok joining us, captain of the now 9-1 Archetype. You guys on a roll, man. How you feeling?
We're feeling pretty good, man. Feels pretty good to be at the top. It's a little different than last season.
Does it feel a little lonely at the top over there?
Not quite lonely yet. There's still a few people right behind us, so gotta watch our backs a little bit.
So you and I talked a little bit via DM. You got a couple new members. You guys had some role swaps. Talk about your new guys. How'd you find them? How are they fitting in? How is everybody liking their new roles? I know you're loving your preferred role, but how's everyone else doing?
Yeah, it's real nice to not be playing tank, dude. I'm a terrible tank. Well, we had some role swaps. I went back. Odin and Solo are returning for us. Great, fantastic players. We actually picked up Virtuoso in a random unranked game. We were all playing together, and he was just playing with us. And we were like, "Hey, man, you're pretty good. You want to come play in NGS with us?" Like, yeah, why not? Totally random, man. But he's a great guy. Love to have him. It's been fantastic. We picked up Burros right before the season started. Great support, dude. He's improved so much, too. It's amazing to watch this Deckard play. It's really cool. Those Lornados, they're so troll, dude.
Yeah, definitely.
Just drops them on cooldown. So
yeah, I know, it's great.
when you've got new guys coming in like that, especially, it's one thing if you have somebody coming in from maybe another NGS team, or there's an adjustment coming from kind of, I don't want to say regular, but non-organized, non-competitive, even over to an amateur competitive side. Maybe you talk about maybe some adjustments, things you guys had to work on, anything in that vein, or did they just click right in with the kind of more structured play?
Yeah, honestly, like we're pretty good friends now. Like, I don't know, we all have really good interchanges. We laugh, we have fun. Like, it's just a good time. And I think that kind of gels into our play where we just enjoy each other while we play and have fun. And I don't know, we've just been doing really well. So I think it was just pretty lucky, really.
All right, last question from me before I pass you to Dengstrom. That
All right, what you
second
got?
game with the kind of unorthodox Abathur comp, Tiddly He on Garrosh was about as aggressive in his positioning,
Yeah, it was a
particularly
pain
the
in the
early
ass.
game. What were you guys talking about? That because I think the first kill on Cassia solo in the bottom, I was telling Dengstrom during the game, I think that was just probably because he didn't think he would go that far to catch him and kill him is probably ultimately the reason for that. What were the comms like? What adjustments did you guys make with Tiddly He being so aggressive on Garrosh?
A little panicky. It's like he's coming, he's still coming. Oh my god, he's in there. So like, yeah, we didn't expect him to be quite as aggressive. He was like hiding in some of our bushes on the left hand side and a lot of the camp invades. But no, I think Solo did a pretty good job of not getting in his range. He got caught that last time. But I think throughout the rest of the game, played pretty safe and we're trying to be really aware of his positioning. So,
All right,
but
Dengstrom, it's all
props
you,
to him.
buddy.
Yeah, I have a few questions for you. The game one, that first boss pit, they just did got a spider turn in. I think they got to pick off
Mhm.
your guys' top keep and on Phoenix, and then they go to a boss turn. And what were comms like? What were your guys' game plan going to that boss fight?
Are you talking about the one that we ended on?
No, not the one you ended on the initial one where you invade them. They start it. It was just after level 10 or so.
Oh yeah, we were just poking to see if they were like baiting us, and then we saw a tornado, and we're like, "Oh my god, they're actually doing this!" And we saw Arthas's help, and we're like, "Ah, it's over. We got this." So we just ran in there all Monka S style, dude, and it was fun.
And with that, was there any points in game one you guys were really concerned? There, Burros had a nice turnaround in that mid-game portion. You guys were pretty dominant early game. Were you guys concerned at all at any point in game one that this might start snowballing against you with this Asmodan?
Yeah, it was really weird. You know what gave us the hardest problem was the Arthas. I think that was a really good pick by them. I don't remember the last time I played into like a main tank Arthas. So like we were a little out of position. He ran it down on us that one time top.
Hmm.
It was tough, especially I know Virtuoso had mentioned like he hadn't played against that in a while. So it's kind of weird into a Johanna. Once your D's down, you're just kind of in Arthas's terrible ring of hell. So it was
Ring of hell.
tough. It's tough, man. There's no escaping him. Run it down,
He,
hero.
he needs to get a flame skin. So
Right?
Yeah, we were both commenting, man. Tiddly He, that first game on Arthas, once he got a hold of somebody,
It was over. Yeah.
he just was not letting him go.
Ran it down, baby.
yeah, one other question I have for you is just looking through, and you may not be able to answer some of this question, but just watching
Okay.
these two games and going through some of your stats of the Storms, you guys seem to get a lot of comfort heroes or a specific lineup fairly often here. Do you think teams are ever going to catch on to this or pressure you in other ways? Are you guys prepared for that?
Well, in the last two series that we've had, it seems that everyone seems to be targeting Odin, our solo laner, with the
Hmm.
Malthael bans and Dahaka bans, but I mean, he's got a pretty big hero pool, so I think that's a mistake. So when they ban out like those heroes, we just get pretty much all of our other comfort heroes, whatever we want. So
Yeah, I mean, I see Aspen and Cassia Johanna Decker, and I look at your guys as most played, and outside of
yeah,
the outside of that oh shoot, what was that Malthael? That's like
hmm
that's your guys' lineup that you guys like to run. So it looks really strong. It looks, what I think is it 9-1 now,
nine
Mongoose?
and one. Yeah,
9-1. I keep doing what's working.
if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Yep.
Got anything else, Dangstrom?
I don't have any questions. I put in chat if anybody else wanted to ask questions. Bunka Man wants to ask Rag what his win rate on Stitches is.
Oh my god, dude, what a troll! Tell Ian to get out of here. We were up till like 2 or 3 a.m. just playing pool party, dude. And I could not win a game for like an hour and a half. Didn't matter who I had on my team. I was just getting wrecked. We were doing customs. It was really fun. But Ian, hey, he was on that lose with me for a while too. So get out of here.
That's it for questions I have from the audience. Mongoose, back over to you.
Hey, Rag, shout outs, anyone you want to say hi to, mom maybe on your way out the door?
of course you got to shout out to Mom, dude. Mom's #1 fan, right?
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, shout outs to you guys, first of all. It's always a pleasure. I love having casters, man. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to do this. It's really great. My teammates, obviously, they're carrying me. So thank you for that. Love you guys. Shout out to Archetype. Echo Spawn created that and was real proud of it and trying to grow that community. So shout out to Echo. And then we got a shout out to Lil B, Lil Barnacle, dude. If you haven't heard of him, look him up. YouTube him. He's fantastic.
All right, Rag. Thanks again, man. Congratulations. We'll see you around, bud.
All right, guys. See ya. Thank you.
See ya.
Well, Dangstrom, 2 in 1 week. I don't think we're going to be able to top that. So why don't you tell people where they can find you? Are you coming back? Did I drag you out of the caster retirement home yet?
You probably dragged me out of the caster retirement center. You're wheeling around me in a wheelchair at the moment, it feels like, for my rust level anyways. But you guys can catch me over in Heroic Division on NGS team, the Real Ultimate Mosh Pit. I play tank over there. You can also catch me if I ever get back into solo casting at Dingstrom Hots at Twitch TV or at Dingstrom Hots on Twitter, where I retweet a lot of things and a few occasional original thoughts. So,
well, I want to thank you again for joining me. It's always a blast having somebody else on the co-pilot seat there. Thanks to Archetype and Blasting Burros. Blasting Burros, those guys are going to get tired of me. Just for scheduling reasons, I keep getting them for whatever reason, so I hope they are digging the casts. You can find me twitch.tv/mongoose_22, mongoose_22 on Twitter. My squad, Regen Blue, plays actually Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this week, so if you really can't get enough of me, if a caster doesn't pick them up, I will point of view them on my own. As of now, only Linehouse is casting Wednesday. So hopefully a caster picks up Monday and Tuesday, but if not, there. And then I have a game I'm casting Thursday. It will be Div B, I believe it'll come up here in a second. Bellevue College versus GF Gaming, I believe, and Div B is a blast, so definitely check that out. Hope everybody enjoys their weekend. Thank you for tuning away from HGC for an hour here to join us here. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
take care.